What's up, everybody? Thanks for joining me on these analysis. We're going to be looking at MSTY and MSTR today. This is the chart on MSTY. Kind of have this trading range from about 45 to 46 all the way down to 18, but within this range we have it from 19.5 to about 20. Just consider these somewhat of outliers for now until price shows us otherwise. But we did get a strong move off of this level that we have drawn out a couple times. As you can see, we got a lot of wicks here recently, and we're also getting a bounce off of this downward sloping trend line. And we kind of have seen this same move prior, where we just continue to make lower lows on the way down. As you can see here, we pull fibs, pull fib here. On the way down, we pushed up to the golden zone, the 0.5, shot back down. We'll see how this next one looks. So we pull it from here to this low here, shot up to the golden zone, rejected off, came back up and got essentially like a double top and just fell out again. Seems like every time it goes to the golden zone and then shoots back off. And here we go again. This one almost got to the golden zone as well. So we can almost consider it a touch. Came to the golden zone, shot back down again. And let's see how this one played out. From here to this move, we pushed up to the golden zone again, shot down, and from here almost to the golden zone, halfway between the 382 and the 0.5, and continue to move down, which goes to show whenever you see it stop at that 382, that's a stronger sign to the continued trend, which was this is a bearish pull. So a bearish pull to the downside. And then we're gonna see, we can do maybe this one here. And we pull from there to down here. And we pushed up to the golden zone once. Actually, sorry, this one wouldn't count. It would be this move here because we're pulling from here. So this move is irrelevant because we're pulling to this one. So it's everything to the right of this move. So it would be this. We pulled up to the golden zone here, 0.5 to 618, and we shot down instantly. So it looks like we're trying to make that move back up to it. Let's see what happens when we touch it again. As we know, the golden zone is a strong level. So we'll see how it plays out, of course. If we get anything similar to this and MicroStrategy does well, then we could see something like that. And let's see if that's just the history of MSTY, that we continue to do that. So it almost creates like we rally up and we just crash, rally up, crash, along with MicroStrategy. So I would imagine this fund has only been out since March 2024 or February 2024. So when we do get an extended run, I would imagine that we'll break out of this trading zone for the long term. But for instance, let's say 2026 is absolutely atrocious and we get slaughtered and price drops significantly. Let's say it drops very, very far. I don't know, it drops like way down here or even lower. When it makes its way back up into this zone, and then for instance, let's say it's 2027 to 2028 and so on, and then we get those crazy moves up, we could end up much higher because it'll, like if you look at these moves, these are February 2024 to March. So you're talking about 1 month of rallying. So we haven't even seen MSTY run with MSTR for an extended period. So when we get a 3-year rally on Bitcoin, what do you think is going to happen to MSTY? It's going to, obviously it's capped on its growth because of what the fund is, but it's going to rally up for the 3 years as well. So if MicroStrategy continues to go up, then MSTY is going to continue to rally. So that's something to take into consideration. If you are going to buy MSTY, this could be a good opportunity relative to the price history, which is very short. So it's not very much to, support your claim that it's a good purchase zone, but just based off of this, this could be a good buy. We'll see, of course, with the tariffs and all the noise that's been in the market. You saw the S&P is down, it dropped 10% in a week, which is that's not very normal for the S&P 500. Hopefully we get a capitulation of all the big guys with all the money, and we get a V-shaped recovery somewhat like COVID. But I'm not banking on that. I mean, I hope it happens, but we'll see how it plays out. Once we hit 20% on the S&P 500, then we're officially in a bear market. So we haven't reached that yet, but we are down 17.6%, so something to take note of. But I do think MSTR will outperform MSTY when we do get that 3-year rally, 2027, 2028, 2029. MSTY could be a good option to add to your portfolio. For me personally, if I were to add MSTY, it would be a very, very small percentage, like 2 or 3%. Something that I'm okay with losing. You're essentially stripping the gains from this. You're capped on gains, and then you're stripping the gains that you do have by giving out that dividend yield, which is extremely high. But if you reinvest, you should be okay. But I do think it's going to underperform MSTR. And I do feel like this could be something that you might need to time a little bit, in a sense. Like if you understand Bitcoin and you can kind of understand where the cycle tops are and stuff, which we talk about in other videos using Pi cycle indicator and a bunch of different things that we can, compile together with M2 money supply, global liquidity. If you can use all of that compiled together on Bitcoin and kind of have a rough estimate of where the top potentially could be, then that could help you when it comes to MSTY, because you can buy really low, ride it up while you're getting paid dividends, you're making some decent growth at the same time, and then sell off and try and repurchase at a lower level, because these things, as you can see, bleed out very quickly. While you're getting paid a friggin' 150% dividend or 100% dividend, but they're dropping 60% within from November to February. So just something to consider. We're going to take a look at the way that they performed, MSTR versus MSTY. It's only a year worth of information because it's March 2024 to March 2025. But so we started with $10,000 and we didn't add a penny to it, and they actually performed pretty similar. At one point though, in November, MSTR was up to about 37,000 off of that 10,000, and MSTY was up 30,000. This is reinvesting dividends, so it's pretty good. And then in the downturns now, MSTR is still outperforming and MSTY is a little bit down. But MSTY in that time for 2024, this is actually insane when you look at this, because you put in $10,000 and you got $16,700 in dividends, which is crazy. And by the time March rolled around here in 2025, you have almost $6,000 in dividends. So you put in $10,000, you got $16,000 in dividends. So I mean, that's crazy, because honestly, another thing you could do is you could roll that money into another fund, and you already made more than your entire investment. So if it went to zero, it doesn't really matter. If you get one good year, so let's say you put in 10,000, you get your 16,700. You made more. You made 60% more than what you put in. So I'm sorry, 160% more than what you put in. You can take that whole 16,000, put it somewhere else, and you leave your 10,000 in there. And if it bleeds out, whatever. But if it generates another amount, then cool. Or you can drip it, which is, you get your dividends and you reinvest it into the portfolio, which I'm sure plays out pretty well with an extended period of time, but we don't have enough data to look at that on the portfolio visualizer. But long term, I do think MSTR, in terms of just pure dollar value, will be higher. So we'll see how it goes though. But I think you can use both of them for sure. But I do think when MSTR rallies, MSTY will come with it, but just at a slower pace. So we'll look here, actually, we'll measure. So we have February 22nd to March 2027. I'm sorry, March 27th. So February 22nd to March 27th. February 22nd from the open to March 27th. So it went up 180% on MSTR, and MSTY went up 124, 125, which is actually, it's pretty close. I mean, it keeps up pretty well, but you are still down. If you make a little bit more, you made like a 50% more roughly on MSTR, which will compound over that three-year period. But if you do catch this thing on a 3-year rally, you're going to be getting paid crazy dividends and you're going to be making some growth, which is pretty insane. But like I said, it all depends on the timing. But it could be a good addition to your portfolio. I wouldn't go, all in on something like this, but you could definitely generate a nice stream of income off of this. It might not be consistent either, so don't expect this to be like a JEPQ, or like a SCHD, because this is nothing like it. But you can generate a large amount, and it could be inconsistent, but you need to go into this expecting that. But let's see, let's see if we get like a nice little double bottom here, or a triple bottom, or maybe a inverse head and shoulders. Maybe that's what we got going on here. Maybe we have like a shoulder. Now we have the head, and now we're making another shoulder here. And an inverse head and shoulder is a bullish, it's a bullish sign. So you would go from, your measured target would be from the head to the neckline, and then you can measure that out. And then your target would be somewhere in this region, but it could go higher. It could go way higher. This is just off of this small move right here. It's kind of how head and shoulders works. Inverse head and shoulders bullish, head and shoulders is bearish. Let's see how Monday turns out on MSTR. This was definitely a shocking day for me, in my opinion. I did not expect MSTR to hold up like that while the S&P dropped like 5% on Friday. I thought MSTR on Friday would have done something. Like, if you would have told me, hey, tomorrow S&P is going to go down 5%, what do you think MSTR is going to go down? I would have told you easily 10%, and it was going to do something where we broke down here, retested, and it went down lower. That's what I would have told you for Friday. But it held up extremely well because of Bitcoin, surprisingly. And when you look at Bitcoin's correlation with the S&P 500, I'm very surprised. So as you can see, they usually stay pretty close together for the most part, but this was somewhat of a deviation. So you have the S&P 500 in pink and Bitcoin in blue, and you can see that they normally stay pretty close together. They're correlated pretty well. They're running up together, they drop together, run up together. They had this one period where Bitcoin was dropping, S&P was rising, but it doesn't happen too often. They're normally in sync for the most part. You had another little period here, but it's very short term, and both rallying up. And if you look here at this move, it almost makes you wonder, like, is next week going to be Bitcoin's turn to do something similar to the S&P 500? Of course, trying to mirror that move. So you see a large blue line here. Definitely be, wary of that. Keep your head on the swivel and watch out, because something could happen drastic, but hopefully not. Something could happen. With SP dropping 5%, this thing realistically should have been like down here right now, if not even more. Well, let's see. We should honestly be down like, yeah, we should be like below this level, like 76,000, something like that. And if we were to break that, if we were to break this, then I can see us touching this $73,000 level, which coincides with this old high here, which plays out just like the previous cycles. So let's see what happens on Monday. People were talking about a Black Monday, crazy crash, but people are extremely bearish. This is the time to accumulate. whatever your favorite stock is right now is probably on sale. So this is the time to accumulate. Whether it's Nvidia, AMD, Amazon, Google, Meta, they're all on sale. So SP 500 is on sale. It's almost sub 5,000 at this point. So Tesla's on sale. Everything's on sale. So this is your opportunity. It could continue lower, so keep that in mind, but just dollar cost average and keep your head steady and just think long term and just look at this as a discount more than losing money. It's just a paper loss. As long as you're buying a good company, you don't have to worry about a paper loss. It's just an unrealized gain. Once you actually realize unrealized loss. Once you actually realize the loss, then that's something else. But you shouldn't be selling in these times. You should be accumulating. That's all I have. I'll see you guys in the next one.